Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 525. Yes, it's a planogram. That's right. Planogram. That's what we call it.
I like it. That's Todd's corpo speak coming full tilt. He got signed up for a planogram.
That's what goes in the store. You got to make the planogram. Look what the store looks like. Yes. So there we go. Yes, we're the Secret Friends Unite podcast. We are your guide to the geek side. I'm Todd Oxtra. Happy Mother's Day to everyone celebrating. Happy to another mofo, Charlie Carden.
Well, it's really not Mother's Day by the time
you're
listening to it. No. But we do live in the multiverse, space-time continuum, where different stuff is always going on. That's okay. But as usual, great show for you today. We're going to dig a little deeper into the character of Bob. That would be the Sentry from Thunderbolt. So hopefully you've gone out and seen the movie, which is being described as having legs. It's finished. It's now finishing, I think, at least 130K domestic. Since its release last weekend, which is awesome news. Keep it right in because it's right in the middle of my bracket. I need it to stay there. Don't go higher.
Well, we'll see how it drops. So that's the big thing with any movie. How big is the drop from weekend 1 to weekend 2?
2%, which is better than other Marvel films. But anyway, we will get into it after we talk about the wonderful folks on our Patreon, Secret Friends Unite Super Squad, the folks that get the exclusive programs, the early shows, ad-free shows, and other benefits on our SFU Discord. It's a three-pronged approach. 1 week for free, 50% off your first month, and then stay on board for as little as $2 a month. So there are all kinds of great perks for joining us like these folks. My buddy Derek Trevelyan, the figure dude, Francie, who did my wife's hair recently, lovely lady who loves our Bad Movies podcast, Luke Lord, Mr. Xbox Expansion Pass, and my uncle Tim. Also John Sedorf, Brendan Myers, Corey and HD, Matthew Keel, my buddy Kurt Krug, who I'll be seeing next weekend at Motor City Comic Con. We're going to go work the floor, get us some new contacts for some new interviews. Our friend Tanya Lee, getting into our new folks, Chipotle Bear, Famous Seamus, Cam the Movie Man, Jay Newport 007. We're going to circle back to him in a second. And then Prozac Man, a.k.a. Darth Prozac. Naturally, we circle back to Mr. J Newport 007. It's his week. He gets to wear the hat, the birthday hat or whatever it is, be the special boy because he is getting his SFU superpower this week. Todd, what do we know about J Newport 007? I don't think I know him myself.
Nothing at all. He came out of the blue, was a winner as part of our contest. So we'd love to learn more about Jay Newport 007. If Jay, if you're out there listening and you should have gotten an invite to Discord, we'd like to learn more about you. Yes. So please join for the fun. But Jay Newport 007, I'm going to say this for you. Jay Newport, your power will be the ability to read fast and not fall asleep.
Wow, that's a skill I know you wish you had because you're a read sleeper. You've told me in the past.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Even in college, I was a slow reader. I just am. It's just something like And then now with with ADHD and things like that, getting distracted. Something like they get back to the page and then I'll read at night. Great idea when you're in bed and you fall asleep. So that I think for anybody else. Having the ability to read quickly and not fall asleep is two abilities that means you could just absorb a lot more and it makes your life so much easier because you don't have to feel like, how am I going to get through that? Well, it's like, doesn't matter. I can get through it in an hour. It's not like you're going through it so fast you don't absorb anything. You do. You full comprehension, full appreciation, but you're fast.
Like Data in Star Trek, you see him more than once. He just flips through a book. He's like, blah, blah, blah,
exactly. So you could use it as a spy, right? Like you'd retain data. You do it fast. So a lot of applications for this.
Well, I'm going to take one that's a little less exciting. Now, I'm going to put together the parts of your name. So we have Newport and we have 007. So I'm thinking about James Bond, but I'm also thinking about Newport, the famous cigarette brand. So
oh God, you didn't go to like Newport Beach? You didn't you always get good weather.
No, that's just boring. What I am going to say is as 007 traveling the world, doing the spy bit, no matter where you go, free those Newport cigarettes will be in every shop you stop by. You're always going to have your brand. You're set. You are set with those Newports.
Yes, because smoking is so renowned these days that
it's happening a lot more over. I'm sure in Europe. So that's the way these powers work. You get one that's really great and one that is totally worthless.
I think he's going to ask for a refund, Charlie. Sorry, that was the lamest power of all time. Give me something that is bad for me, and nobody does anymore.
I'm sure I've had much worse. But anyway, to wrap it up, the folks who are our biggest supporters of all the awesome, nice family out there in the Twin Cities of Sean, Stella, and Henry, thank you very much for all you do for us. And again, if you're listening to us, swing on over to patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Try us out for a week for free. And I think you will definitely want to stick around. Like this guy in this cover that I'm looking at, he doesn't stick around, but I'm confused by this. So this is Daredevil, Volume 1, number 25. This is from December of 1968. My familiarity with this character now, if you're looking at this cover, if you're watching us on YouTube, which Todd swears you're watching us on YouTube, so don't prove him wrong. Watch us on YouTube. I remember this character, and I've got him on he's on my shelf somewhere. I remember him in the 80s in an issue of The Amazing Spider-Man as being like some awkward teen kid. Maybe that's this dude's son. Like, he's like, son, you're such a disappointment, but he steals the suit or something. So maybe this is Leapfrog number 1. So anyway, looking at this text, so cover, Leapfrog is a guy in a literal like frog suit with the frog head, and he's got springs on the bottom of his feet, which wasn't that like a kid's like toy in the 50s?
Yes,
like the spring shoes.
Shoes with spring shoes, or Dada had them, I believe, in Goonies.
Oh, there you go. But anyway, the red burst at the top says, "Wowie." That's WOW dash 5 E's. I'm smelling Stan Lee with an exclamation point. Just wait till you meet old Matt Murdock's swinging twin brother. So the Leapfrog is his twin brother? Did he have a twin in the womb that he ate? So we would be meeting him. I'm confused.
So I will fill you in on this Leapfrog. This Leapfrog did indeed first appearance in this comic. His name was Vincent Patillo. He was a loser inventor, and he did have a son who he forbade from following his path of villaindom, kind of like B tier, C tier guy. So yes, you're probably aware of his son. Yes. When he took up the visage of Leapfrog. But the good thing, Charlie, about this comic, it also included Tri-Man, says fake story. I don't know what that means. Kazar mentioned, Spider-Man mentioned, Robot's fake story. I don't know what is true because there are a lot of fake stories in this.
You must be looking at the Marvel Wiki because they have it's very sparse.
And Stan Lee wrote it, and Gene Colan, Gene the Dean.
Yeah.
He illustrated it. There you go.
I remember that issue of Amazing Spider-Man. I'm going to pluck a number out of my head, 263. And the kid was following Spider-Man around trying to be his sidekick. Side leapfrog kick. Absolutely fascinating. Little did you know, before this dude took on the role, to make ends meet back in the 1950s, Leapfrog flipped the script, was our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb. I know I'm spilling the tea, but statute of limitations is all used up. She's going to be fine. But these days she works for us down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, bringing us all the latest news and scoops. Let's do it.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Now, a little dirty secret you have a family member. We never talked about your family, really. You had a brother, kind of a bad dude. He got into some trouble. Actually, got a knockoff suit from the Leapfrog. It was the Bullfrog. So unfortunately, it was more bull than frog. Ooh. So not very successful, not very good. Gave everybody warts. That was like his special ability. Did not go well. And he was in prison, and then he had to do public service for dermatology.
The bulls give people warts? Fascinating.
Bullfrog?
Well, you said he said he was more bull than frog, so bulls give.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah, bull has the two warts. Hang it.
That's why you watch this podcast, folks. You get to see Charlie's gestures.
Oh, Lord. All right. So
I couldn't possibly screen capture that.
I was going to say.
Stop.
Blur out my hands.
No.
Okay.
You're not picking up grapes. Move on.
I'm not. When was Peacemaker on? Was that in 2020? 21?
2022, maybe?
Because it was following the suicide after. It was after suicide.
Yeah, so
that was 2021.
It was a spin-off from the film 2021, so it had to be 2022.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a date. Where's the date? Come on, I'm looking at Wikipedia right now.
Come on.
There's no date.
Do it.
January 13th, 2022. So it was a short follow from
January.
The film.
Yeah. Okay. So like tail end of but in essence,
3 years, almost 3.5 years.
3.5 years, but it comes out in August. But anyway, long lead up to the fact that we got a trailer for season 2 of Peacemaker. It was a show that set everything on fire. Everybody loved it. The dance, I can't even. It's funny.
Everybody can do it because it's not very good.
I actually have, and I don't. It's somewhere in my files, my files of images of the dance, like the steps. Like, so you just have a guy and you have him go, whatever it is. I can't remember, but it's fantastic.
You put a mat on the floor and follow the steps like the old school dance mats that we bought from that comic. Remember, Charlie? We saw the ad for that comic, Learn How to Dance.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's what it is. Yes. Step 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yes.
But anyway, this trailer looks like a blast. So they are tilting all the way into the absurdity that this, and I've watched a couple of breakdown videos, this is a weird transitional property between leaving behind the Snyderverse, as it were, and moving into are we calling it the Gunniverse? The Gunniverse? James Gunn's universe.
How about the good verse?
The good-averse. Oh, like the good place. And Snyder's was the bad place. Ooh, we're going out on a limb here.
Moving on. Yes.
Moving on. So yeah, we see Peacemaker with one of the people on his team who's driven him to an interview in an old toy store where he's sitting on the other side of the glass from actor Sean Gunn, who is taking over the role of Maxwell Lord. That was Pedro Pascal in Wonder Woman 1984. If I'm not mistaken. And then we see Todd's favorite Guy Garner to one side, and Isabella, you know who I'm trying to say, Isabella Merced as Hot Girl, she's on The Last of Us right now. And they're interviewing him, but they leave the mic open and they're like doing personal talk. And then he just says, "Oh, this guy really sucks." And poor Peacemaker's like, "And you just said that I suck." And he just kind of slaps his head. And then we then we just get into the next 2 minutes of craziness.
I love this because, it's kind of mixed in. You've got Frank Grillo, who is, if you've watched Creature Commandos, he is the dad of Rick Flag. But he knows he killed, Peacemaker killed his son, which is kind of cool that we're bringing this all in from the series. I tell you, if you have not seen Creature Commandos, well worth watching. So much fun, goofy. Great. Yeah. And then we're getting Tim Meadows is like a commando lead, and that is hilarious. Completely offensive, but I love it. Where he names everybody
on his team.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Ponyboy's the only one I think you can say. Everybody else, you can't say anything. But Ponyboy,
Man. You can say Encino Man because he was saying,
and Ponyboy. Other than anybody else, you don't say it because they did make me laugh. And he goes, "What do you think this is? Harvard? Yeah, or Princeton? One of those schools." Yep. So I don't know what the plot of this is, but it does end on a multiverse because you see him encountering another Peacemaker.
Yeah, exactly. So, all the effing and jeffing. I remember there's nudity in the first one. So definitely not for kids if you've not seen season 1. I know I'll go back and watch it again because I just remember how much fun it was.
It's so goofy, so fun. Yeah, and this is back. We're going to get this. This
August
is
21.
August 21. We have the Summer of Superman.
Yep.
Then we get this, and then we'll get more movies, and probably I just saw that Lanterns. I'll pronounce it a million ways. Just wrapped, so that's good. So that means it's coming out in 26.
Yep.
For TV. So and I heard they're doing a lot of shooting for the new Supergirl film.
Yep.
So this stuff feels like it's coming together. Sergeant Rock can't get a rock, but that's okay because that's kind of off kilter.
His rock
I'm good
was
with this.
rolling. So yeah, this looks like fun. And I know one of my favorite moments, my favorite character from all of this is Eagly the Eagle, and how he hugs Peacemaker at one point, and he said, "I just watched a bald eagle hug a guy." Oh, just everything about this is just absolutely wonderful. So we will be fun. I do also love how Jennifer Holland, who is James Gunn's wife in real life, is sitting with a shrink, and before you see her, he says, "You have the most extreme case of toxic masculinity I've ever seen," and she just goes, "What?" And then you flash her beating the shit out of a bunch of people. So yeah, she's a great character. I
love the fact that it is nepotism, but it's not because I think he would hire anyways because she's a very good actress. Yeah. So I like that, and people don't call him out because he's casting his wife. She's good. He is not dumb enough to cast so his daughter Sofia Coppola in Godfather 3
or Kevin Smith's daughter. Sorry, Kevin. I do. I like you for the first 5 films you made, and then that's about it. All right, moving right along. Yes. Oh my God, moving right along. This is fun. We have a movie coming out on. This one's Apple and the next one's Netflix. But yeah, correct. Apple, we got a Skarsgård coming in. Todd, what do we got going on here with Murder Bot?
So it's based on a series of books, and this is basically a comedic science fiction show about a robot who I didn't realize the robot was going to be just he has a human face, but he's like essentially a old version. This is like your iPhone 11 version of the latest murder bot tech or sci-fi tech.
That's not what I have, is it? I hope not.
I don't know. I just got a 16, so I'm all the way up now.
I might be at 12.
He essentially becomes like self-aware, and he realizes humans are the worst. They're dumb. He's like, he's got to protect them, but they're like, why are they like doing drugs and bad things? Well, he gets to be part of an excursion where he's going to do security only because he is the least expensive bot they could hire, and they find out that he actually refers to himself as Murderbot, which is like, that's not great.
Nope.
And
I don't like that.
This looks great. It's based on Martha Wells' best-selling Hugo and Nebula Award-winning book series, The Murderbot Diaries. I think this is great. Yeah. I mean, this is an Apple Plus TV series. Apple TV Plus doesn't miss, and this looks like it's going to be fun.
Really don't. They really don't. I could have done without a second season of Schmigadoon, to be honest with you. And
Charlie, no,
I didn't care for it. And
I would do a Ron Burgundy right now, but it's we're trying to keep it PG.
Since when? I liked the first season of it, and then I don't know if you ever checked out Physical, but that also kind of it was a little too dark. It felt a
little like. I don't know, different, but I do like Apple TV shows.
Yes, agreed.
Mystic Quest is ending. We're getting Side Quest, which I watched one of those. So good stuff there. And this arrives on May 16th. So essentially next week. It is going to have 2 episodes to launch and then 1 episode a week. It'll go through July 11th. So this could be a lot of fun. Yeah. And I just got resubscribed because I didn't realize I was still subscribed. So thank you, Apple. You get my $11. So enjoy.
We got some deal that probably will expire, and so then they'll start. Is it up to 11? I thought it was 9 or 10 or whatever.
Yeah, started off at 5, just like Disney Plus started at 6.
Got to.
Remember that?
Yeah, they charge you more, and the content is less good. Speaking of content that's less good, I am almost certain that I saw, because this is a part 2. I am almost certain that I saw the first part of this, and I'm 100% certain that I didn't like it because I think it looks corny as hell. So it is called, I don't have the link up. Is it The Order?
So this is a second sequel to the first Netflix movie called The Old Guard, The Old Guard is based on a comic book. So it was a comic book that was written by
a guy,
not Tim Brubaker. It was basically by a good comic book writer, but they would say it got Netflixized as a movie.
Big time. Yeah.
We got Charlize Theron as basically, these are immortals who are assassins who live through life. There's so think of Highlander, but not as like magical. They go. I didn't see the first one.
Yeah, it was very, and then very, very missable. But Charlize, and I had to fix your spelling. You had it as Charlize Theron. You're turning into
close enough.
You're turning into our parents. They say that, remember that old SNL skit where they had the parents translator when they had to say the name of a famous person?
Yes. Elisa, Alexa, Liza.
Exactly.
Yes. It doesn't matter how you know who I'm talking about.
Yes,
Charlize Theron. But with the good news about this movie, well, I don't know, good or bad, but I Somebody I always appreciate that should be in more things is Uma Thurman.
Oh,
She's
I agree.
fantastic.
I agree.
Kill Bill, her action-oriented things. I look at her in the movie. She has not aged a day, man. She is looking spot on. I think she's still married. Is she still married to what's his name?
I guess it depends on what's his name is. Not sure.
The guy who was in Dead Poet Society, he's been in a lot of other things.
Robert Leonard? Is it he was
Uma Thurman, because her daughter, their daughter is the girl from Stranger Things.
No, that's Maya Hawke. You're thinking of Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke. It's his wife. Yes. That is his wife. That is the daughter. That is the daughter. Yes, they were married. I don't know if they're still married though.
For some reason, I thought he was actually married to the girl from the Before Sunrise movies. I thought they were really married. But there you go.
Well, yes, because they've been in a million movies together. So let's see. She's still married to him. But yeah, that is my Hawks. Funny about this. She was married to Gary Oldman for 2 years. Then Ethan Hawke. Then she got divorced in 2005
and married him again.
She has no partner. She's single. Guys, Uma Thurman, take your shot.
You've already thrown the gauntlet down that you get to secret love crush on her. So just that can be your way back.
I don't think she'd be like top. I don't think she'd be top for me. But I'm like anybody who's single, shoot your shot, man. She may need a date.
You never know. You never know. You miss 100% of those shots you don't take. But yeah, I got to be honest with you. This looks very Netflixy. It's the kind of thing that I know April would dig into because she loves the Netflix movies. But that's how she got me to watch the first one.
Yeah, Immortals, Charlie, the biggest problem I have with Immortals, these are not people that can't be killed. It's just if they don't get killed, they can live forever. So, and I don't know if it means that they stay the same age. I guess they do. They stop, it's like one of those things. Why do you stop aging when you're like 22? It's like
because it fits the story. Well, I know pretty ladies, they don't look like they're 22, so you must stop aging it. If you want to see a couple of late 50-something women beating the crap out of each other, this movie is for you.
Yeah. So Thurman is the villain of this, and she's hunting them down. But they do mention that they are finding the first immortal, which he's in this like casket they pull up. So we're bringing that character in. So and then apparently Charlize, she is no longer an immortal, and she doesn't want anybody to know, but I'm like, well, don't die. Right. That's all they'll know. Or you get old, you're like, you're looking older today. I don't know. This is out on Netflix, and it is coming out on looking for a date. I wish they July 2nd. So this is a movie you watch when 4th of July holidays come around, and you never talk about it again.
And you're wasted and shooting off fireworks, and this is playing in the background.
Yep.
There you go. All right. So this next story, this creator will be at Motor City Comic Con, so I might have a chance to actually meet him. Todd, see if we can pull him. I'm going to tee you up.
He is a legend. I mean, we're talking about the guy who has been renowned for writing amazing comics. He did those was it Spider-Man Red? Spider-Man Blue? Blue. He did Hulk Green. He did all those. He also did all colors. Halloween.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's a great writer. He's always teamed up with Tim Sale, and Jeff Leb was a big part of X-Men back in the day. He wrote some of Age of Apocalypse, which is a great series. And also Jeff Leb was part of Marvel TV. He was the guy that, was part of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The pre-MC, basically those shows that weren't part of the MCU.
Kind of riding the bubble.
There. Right. And he also drove the Netflix shows to happen. So good, bad, ugly, if you don't like it all. But, Jeff Leb, he is a legend. I would love to talk to him. But he is apparently getting to do a sequel to Age of Apocalypse, which is it's called X-Men Alpha of Apocalypse, which is they're bringing the characters back. So I don't know if they'll be brought back in to the main, MCU or Marvel Comics proper, whatever it is, what we're talking about now. But I loved it. There were so many cool original creations. The art was beautiful. We got so many things from that. We got a cool Cable character called Nate Gray, which was X-Man. We got all these cool. We got the Dark Beast. We got the Candyman, which is a weird old freakazoid guy. We also got
It's a lot of stuff you see in the dollar bin. I know X-Man always was, but then again, it can be said for a lot of books of the 90s. But this is cool. So I'm not super familiar. Yeah. I'm not super familiar with the original, but I love anniversary stuff. I love bringing back something that is for the fans. It's one of these, like, you didn't know you needed it until you saw it, but because you loved it so much. And so, yeah, I admire that. This artist, is he teaming up with an artist that you're familiar with?
Simone DeMio, but if I look at the art from what I'm seeing in the main pages, looks great. Looks specific. Like Joe Majura was the big artist at the time. He brought in a lot of the manga sensitivities, which I absolutely love. This was going on when I was in college. I was fully geared into X-Men, so I'm all in for this. And it's 4 issues.
Yep.
So perfect for me. I love this, and it kicks off in November. So this is going to be much to do about nothing until it actually comes out in about.
I love that
6 months.
Someone proofread this, and this is the X-Men of Apocalypse Sequec series.
Oh God! Badly written titles. Yeah, there we go. Bad. So check it out if you like comics, and if you like this era, very cool. Once again, Marvel's fast and loose with what they do with their continuity. These characters could become part of the main continuity. Who knows?
You don't know. Like the X-Men, when the X-Men went back in time and started all that stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed that to a point. I'm like, so what's the point? So I don't even know what happened to those characters, to be honest.
Yeah, are they still around, or I mean, who cares? But anyway, yes, it does.
Exactly. They could be. We can move on. Maybe they are.
But we're still talking about X-Men because Todd, you're dumping on the Thunderbolts. Excuse me, New Avengers. But the critical.
I just saw a commercial for it this weekend. They still don't refer to it as New Avengers. So where are they actually showing that?
It's not a poster that I've seen in the flesh.
Either have I, or a trailer.
My movie theater has the big Wheaties box, the 10-foot tall Wheaties box.
They had a poster of that.
And we walked past, and April said, well, they didn't slap a new sticker up there, so I guess it's all bullshit. She's kind of right. But anyway, the critical success is getting actor Jake Schreier noticed by the people at Meyer because he's being eyeballed to take...
At Meyer?
Yeah, what?
Meyer is part of the Marvel? You said at the people at Meyer.
I looked at Schreier and it turned into Meyer. Jake Schreier is talking to Meyer. He's talking to the people at Marvel.
Meyer, the official grocer of Marvel Studios.
You bet. In the 5-state Midwestern region, if you live outside the Midwest, if you don't.
Mr. Fire's Acres, as I called it as a kid.
Mr. Why? They have to burn things down.
Because Myers Thrifty Acres. Do you remember it was called Myers Thrifty Acres? So Mr. Fire's Acres for some reason. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Fire.
Did they have to kill Mr. Fire to build his land?
The prices are on fire. I don't know. Let's go put them out. Yeah, there we go. Moving on.
But at any rate, as I said, you're stealing my moving on. You better knock it off. He's being eyeballed for the X-Men franchise by the people at Marvel that are impressed by how people are enjoying Thunderbolts / New Avengers. So this is a big one. I mean, the X-Men is a perennial property for Marvel. It was the first really dynamite, huge franchise in the early 2000s for Marvel. It exists, it looms large in the hearts of people of all ages, quite frankly. So getting this right is bigger than, really, in a lot of ways, it'd be bigger than what they created, making B-tier characters like Captain America and Iron Man into the Avengers. Yeah, we all love that and it's revered. But before that happened, nobody gave a shit about those characters except for comic book fans. This, however, the X-Men has existed within comics, within movies, within cartoons. All the kids that grew up watching those X-Men cartoons in the 90s. So it's bigger, in my opinion, than almost anything they can take
tougher,
on.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because there have been successful X-Men films. You can't say like Fantastic Four. They made serviceable films.
Yeah,
but you can't say like the peak is there. It's like it's just ready to be done well.
Nobody's going to compare it to, well, I really thought that I owned Gruffle back in 2005 did a better job. No, nobody's going to say that. So, but yeah. So what do you think about this? Taking the approach of the Thunderbolts, like the team of misfits, which the X-Men is a team of misfits. Obviously, that's at the core of the storytelling. And this dude's style, I mean, this was his first big, we talked about this when we broke the movie down. This was his first big
He did Kanye video. Like he didn't do anything I would say remarkable before that film.
Yeah.
And the fact that he did a team film, which brought these characters together, which had not been brought together in an era where, quite honestly, there's not a lot of excitement about any of these characters, what's going to happen next, and covering kind of while I enjoyed this film, to a lot of people, Mike, walking this film kind of feels like a downer to a lot of places.
Right.
Everybody's going through crap. There's no feel good moments. You do get some good feel good moments within it, but the larger
there are, but there aren't feel good moments. Which you got to pick one.
Well, no. So I mean, there are some feel good moments within a lot of very serious topics. People are going through things, and then there's a good balance of comedy plus that. And what I will say with the X-Men, I think it fits with a team and dealing with very like serious things. But the X-Men haven't really managed comedy in a lot of ways. Majority of the time, it's been very dour. So I like somebody that could add a little sense of humor to the X-Men, like we got in Deadpool versus Wolverine, but balance it out with the serious. Because I mean, I think if this guy can take these characters, make them come up on the screen, play out well, form a team. That's half the battle, and the fact that he's done it with these characters, I think he could nail it with his own take, with good writers to make this happen. So why not bring him on stage? Tell him what you want to do with the X-Men, make it work, get a good script, nail it out. That's how these things should happen, right?
And we'll have new X-Men. What would be your number one? I can already think of it. Your number one untackled story to get it kicked off. I think the introduction of the Giant Size X-Men #1, that team.
That's a good take. I really like that, because you could essentially say, instead of like the original X-Men, you could bring in, let's put it this way. Xavier's brought together a team of X-Men to lead and make them all like C-tier mutants that you don't care if they all die or they don't make it. And then you bring in a team that's maybe a mix of those and do it. I think that's a great way to approach it. Kind of like with the Fantastic Four, where you're kind of dealing with something like, do it like this is the beginning of a team and they fail. And this is, he's got to like treat it like Xavier's School for Mutants. He's got to actually train them, maybe attract new talent and do things like that. Right. Or unless we do that, we do like New Mutants, and we say he's got a school of mutants, and then we say there's a team that's very, an X-Men team, but they're gone in a way.
They're doing
mention them and say, but we need to recruit the next, and then we start there with some young characters that like Cannonball, things like that. But maybe mix them with some other characters, because that could really work well. And then when when the original team or a team of like hardened X-Men come in, you bring them in then to save the day with these New Mutants. So there's ways to do this, but I like the fact that you start kind of with a, he has a team that failed, and then you can kind of build from that. I like both of those approaches. Let's do it, Charlie.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Send those checks, Disney. All right. Well, that takes us right up out of the news. Todd, you're not even at Geek Easy today. You're at your local comic shop, but they're wrapping up. They're giving you this sign. It's time to go. I got to get here out of my studio, so I've got my Uber set up because I'm going to get my drink on. Down at the Geek Easy, my Uber is showing up. I'm jumping in the back seat, but the radio is blaring, and I hear this very familiar advertisement.
Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to Zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. This week, I watched a new show on Netflix. It's an 8-part comedy from the mind of Tina Fey. It's got great cast. It's got Coleman Domingo. It's got Steve Carell, Tim. I'm blanking on his name. MacGruber. I'm always blanking on his name.
Will Forte was MacGruber.
Yes, Will Forte. Yep, he's in it. Also, I'm trying to think of anybody else that you may know. Carrie Kinney from
The State and Reno 911.
Yeah, she's in it too. So it's a great movie. It's a remake of actually it's a movie reinvention.
Okay.
Alan Alda of MASH fame made a movie in the 80s called The Four Seasons. And it's about couples.
Yes.
It's about couples, differing at a certain age in their life, kind of like us at our life, basically going through things through different seasons. So season 1 I've watched one episode so far. Very good. These 4 couples, they go up to a cabin to reconnect. They do this every year. They go on trips. They just connect. And it's now everybody's getting to the point in their life where Coleman Domingo plays a gay guy who has a I don't know if they're married or just a couple, whatever. Then you got Tina Fey. She's married to Will Forte. They've been married for a long time. Steve Carell is married to Carrie Kinney. Is there a couple I'm missing out on? I think that's it. I think there's just 3 couples. The issue is they're all going through something different. And it is just like us, Charlie, where you can identify each spouse what they're like and the issues they're going through. Like Coleman Domingo, he doesn't want to divulge he's going through some health issues, but his significant other, husband, I can't remember. I don't know if they confirmed, he is actually going to the pharmacy to get him things because he has a blockage like in his heart, but he doesn't want to mention it. So you've got all this stuff going on with these couples that they love each other, but and they're long friends so the whole point of this is basically you're just seeing these people at certain stages of life. There's every season. It's very funny. Tina Fey's great.
That doesn't sound funny at all. It sounds miserable.
Well, no, you do get to see, but the funny part is like you just realize this is, in life, marriage is not glamorous, and you have friends, and sometimes you change, you get involved. Like we hear about one couple maybe getting a divorce, and how does that affect the dynamic of the whole friendship, mode, and what does it mean? And do the friends try to support them, or do they say, hey, stick around, it'll get better? So, but you do see it. And it's just like, I just appreciate the honesty and kind of the warts of it all, as we would say, of these friendships and the goofy things. Like the one guy, he says, like, my wife she doesn't have any passion anymore. She worries about taking a step to get on the escalator. That type of like,
stay away from escalators.
Some people just stop growing and kind of fear. And then I
have to say, I'm impressed that you be invested in this. And there's no explosions. So that's growth for you. No, there's no shoot 'em ups. I'm teasing.
But it's good writing, it's funny, and it's short. So it's not like it's 3 hours of like, oh God, it's it's just this bearing thing. This is, to me, it's perfect because it nails it. It has enough stuff happening, and there's good dynamics, good writing, and it's very funny. It's like Schitt's Creek in a lot of ways.
It was like 8 segments, like a half hour-ish kind of deal.
8 episodes, half hour, it's all there. So it's Netflix. It's
on Netflix.
Check it out. Yeah.
Look at you, Netflix.
I'm so glad these talented people. That's the problem with Netflix. They keep, every time you want to say, I'll cancel you, they get something good. So it's like,
if you really don't love me, babe, you got to keep me hanging on.
For every old guard, you get something like this. You know, sometimes it's a cost. But so then moving on, check that out. It's out. It's all there. It's very good. Andor season 2. I'm through episode 5. So folks, you will know this if you're past the wedding rave. I guess is the best way to put it.
Brasso is the name of the song. It's on my Super Jams list. You can find that on Amazon Prime, but that gets the blood going. The dancing around.
It is the new Matrix rave. That's how I'm calling it. I mean, you can say it's worse. For me, it was like, this is far worse than that, because I'm like, this is the depression I've given up I'm just gonna dance moment in Star Wars.
I do appreciate how the Chandrillans, that's Mon Mothma's people, how they drink. They even talk about like, oh, you should, well, you know, how much you drink on the first one. But yeah, that episode was tough because you do find out that there's a blackmail situation developing between Mon and her old friend.
Deal with the devil.
And then
my God, selling your soul.
Luthen pretty much, and Luthen, who is played by Skarsgård, he's like, well, and I love the Kilroy's dialogue is so sharp. He's like, he's been where he's talking with Mon, and he's like, this guy's been my, friends for generations. I just, or for decades. I just, I can't believe I can't believe a betrayal like this. And he goes, oh, how nice for you. He's like, I'm still going to do what I got to do. Yeah, I'm going to do what I got to do. And I do love that, we haven't seen Vel. Vel is her cousin, who looks just like this woman I used to know that I cosplayed with. So it's weird every time I see her. But her partner,
it's her cousin, not her sister, right?
It's her cousin.
Okay, I thought they were sisters for some reason. But it's her sister we see in season 1. She's with the Resistance on the floor. She comes back. There's an equal chance it could be a cousin or sister. Yeah, she was with Andor last season on Aldhani where they did the big heist. She was part of that crew with cousin who got shot in the end of it. But you see her partner, whose name I forget, that she's not seen in forever, is posing as a limo driver, and the old friend gets in the back of the limo, never to be seen again. So there goes the problem. So yeah, Luthen's rough. Luthen is, he's still with. I'll give minor spoiler. He's still with us in the next segment because every block of 3 episodes jumps forward a year. So, the next block, which I implore you to watch this now, this show today on Tuesday, if you're listening to this when it comes out, the show is ending with this final block. But block 3 is riveting. You will be glued to it as if you fell into a vat of glue. It's just so incredible. It's espionage, and you've got different things going on, different areas. You've got, I love Cassian gets to play a fashion diva, which is great. You've got a French planet with, I guess, very valuable spiders. That's very Yep. Yeah. You've got the horrible. Yeah. You've got the horrible relationship with Cyril, his mother, and now
Dedra.
Dedra basically laying down the law. Basically, you will get this many times to see him, blah blah blah. I'm like, oh,
was this the episode where they had to turn out the lights and then they went and
yes. Oh yeah, we've got 15 minutes. That all? Yes, turn off the lights. Yes. So I feel like he's just turning in one controlling female in his life to another. So it's like this poor dude is going to be at the mercy of someone else because he
will not even believe what happens in the next segment.
Okay.
So
good. I'm very excited.
Just watch it, please.
Yeah. And then we've got Saul Guerrero.
It's Guerrero. Oh, he's right back there. You can see him right back. You actually see Mon. If you look at my thumb, there's Mon right behind me.
So he's once again kind of insane and kind of weird. He has an addiction to like chemicals that are not good for him. He's now decided to.
He's not quite
he'll turn on everybody.
Yeah, he's not quite the robot that he is when we see him in Rogue One when it's his water balloon. He doesn't have the fake leg, but he's just things are not going good. And you got to remember when we first met him was back in the Clone Wars. He was just a regular guy, but he lost his sister on his home planet to the Separatists.
And that happened in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, sure did.
Okay.
Yeah, in the cartoon.
I just thought he was a weird dude that had a weird voice. They had like that mind bender thing. And I'm like, okay, that's a dude.
And I will admit, I'm going to have to go back and watch this next block. We did talk about the first block on Holocron, which we had to delay in getting that out, so that's going to be a week late, unfortunately. But we'll jump back. But I will admit, I was watching this and I dozed off because I was on the road for work and I shouldn't have turned the lights off. But I was.
It's a heavy show. It's a heavy show. It's not like there's not a lot of explosions. You do every once in a while. You'll get an episode like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I will say, I know people are frustrated because there's a camp of people that are frustrated. They're saying this is the best people. Some people are saying this is the best Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. And other people are like, I don't agree because it's not what I view as Star Wars. And I kind of feel like
because there's no Jedi's and explosions and stuff. Yeah.
What I always said, if we took away the Star Wars name, would the show still be good?
Yes.
And Andor is specifically that. This show would be good regardless of the content. The fact that you have so little of the pieces
You
that we're
sprinkle,
familiar with, like Gorman, the pieces of Mon Mothma, her relationships.
You have the Empire as a framework. You have the growing rebellion. So you have, and they're on different planets. And
but ultimately, most of the stuff, unless you're really deep, you will not know about any of this. It's like, not like we're going back to Hoth. We're not going, we're not going back to Tatooine again. So for me, I kind of understand where people are coming from. Like they're frustrated because this isn't what the Star Wars they want. But this is a great show. I think
it's what we always deserved, and maybe some people can't. It's the same thing with all kinds of fandoms. There are people who just can't let go of. Oh, it's got to be like the original trilogy. Well, no, it can't always be the original trilogy. It has to grow, and this growth, this show, is exactly what Star Wars needs. And I think anybody who has a critical eye has really picked up on that. Some people never will. It's just the nature of the beast.
This is the HBO Max Star Wars show.
Prestige.
I wish we could get a balance, though.
Someday.
Better writing with some of those fun elements of Star Wars where it's witty, it's fun, great action sequence, something big, big explosion. Rogue One gave us that in 2 hours.
Yeah.
But still, for a lot of people, I feel a lot of people felt like that's not Star Wars. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, but all I can hope is the next Star Wars thing we get that's on the screen. Maybe it's the Ryan Gosling thing where it's that better balance of really solid writing with fun and balance.
Yeah,
that's all I want from Star Wars. Better balance.
Well, I will tell you, going into this block that aired last week, they said that episode 8, so in the middle of 7, 8, 9, held the highest streaming rate of any program that's ever aired. Now that is
good to hear.
That is a headline that I read this week. So
and,
that is, that's the episode I'm telling you about. That you will be saying, "Oh my God, holy crap!" Like you'll be white knuckling it watching.
That's episode.
That's 8. Yeah.
That's right, because we have 12 total. Okay, cool. Right. I'm good to go. I've got a lot to look forward to, which is great. The funny part is, Charlie, you shared on a lot of different channels, like most watched Star Wars.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Which made me laugh so hard because I'm like, everything that's there is like essentially very new things or very things that are tied to more, I would say, younger viewers.
Yep. Well,
because
and that makes sense.
The Jedi's like down at number like the 5 from the bottom. Like, because I don't even know what to say at this point.
Yeah, because the young people are watching the Clone Wars and they're watching the Bad Batch, and so it's much ado about nothing. But it is nice to see Star Wars diversify into like Star Trek has Star Wars.
Can't wait to see what's next.
Different zones for different people. So anyway, all right,
please.
I finally went to go see, and I'm like, I feel like I don't want to miss this because everybody in the world is saying it's great, but we had a free night. So we went and saw Sinners, which is Ryan Coogler's new movie with Michael B. Jordan. I found out that Coogler has made 5 films and Jordan has been in every one of them. That's his guy. Which I love. They work together exclusively, apparently. Not exclusively, but
he was in Fruitvale Station. Was that his first film?
Might have been, but
which I've not seen, but I heard it's great. Small film.
This is set in 1930s in Mississippi, so deep South, Mississippi Delta. You have 2 twin brothers who go. They nicknames. One is Smoke, and the other is Stack. So they're the Smokestack brothers, returning home from some time in Chicago where they clearly did a bunch of shady shit, but they've come back to their hometown and connected with family, and they're going to open a jute joint. Just a place for music and dancing. And all of this is really, there's a great framework where they have a voiceover describing, Choctaw tribes, ancient tribes in Ireland had a soothsayer, a music player, the Native Americans would call it a firekeeper, someone who can channel music to channel spirits. And there's an amazing scene in the juke joint while this is going on where our main blues player, who is the cousin to the Smokestack brothers, is playing music, and it creates this rift in the space-time continuum, which is not addressed, but you see he's playing, and then there's a rap duo from the 1970s, and there are 2 of the characters are from China, so there's a Chinese, kabuki dancers, Asian, Chinese, whatever it is. Okay. And there's just this incredible rolling shot and tilts up with so there's that part of it. And then there's the other piece of it, Irish vampires, Irish folk singing. this was a longer movie, but oh my God, glued to it. Absolutely fantastic movie. This is one, much like we were talking about with Thunderbolt / New Avengers. I think it's catching some great word of mouth, which is helping that box office maintain. And you should absolutely go see this one. Todd, I know you're
I've been waiting for a window, so I'm hoping I can go Tuesday.
Tuesday movie club. You're a Tuesday guy.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can because my wife has her neck surgery on Monday.
Yeah.
So if that goes well, then I can go on Tuesday. So I've heard though that this is also a musical.
Yeah,
is that right?
Well, as I was describing to you,
but is it like they're actually like performance numbers or anything like that?
But it is not a musical, as in like Schmigadoon. It's not like that. People don't just
so they're not coming out and going, "Let me tell you the next act of this movie,"
exactly.
and singing and dancing. But it's more like music is a part of this versus it's not gonna. Yeah.
Well, it's
we're not telling the story in song.
It's thank God. It's the music that draws the evil. Because music,
like Pied Piper.
Yes, exactly. It brings in
very cool. I like that.
The devil,
and then Haley
the
Steinfeld, not a good character apparently.
She things don't go well for her, but they do.
That's what I saw. Well, they showed her like
they do or they don't, depending on your point of view. And it has a great mid-credit sequence, which that's weird. Which genuinely, it's weird outside of a Marvel movie. I know it genuinely delivers a coda to the story that I just had to go see it. I'm not going to say another word, but
he paused making Black Panther 3 to make this. So
and rightfully so, especially
the dude can punch his ticket for anything now.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially based on Black Panther 2.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right, Todd, did you ever tune into Poker Face over on Peacock?
I've watched like 2 episodes. I really like it. It's Columbo. Yeah. With a trucker hat.
Yeah, it is. It's Natasha. I always want to say Leggero, but it's Leon. Thank you. Who is? It's so funny. She's got the voice of everybody smoking grandma.
Let me tell you. Yeah. Exactly. Let me ask you one more question. She's Columbo. Yeah.
But she's our age. But she's like, but she looks 10 years older. The actress has had a hard life. A lot of in and out of rehab and stuff.
Where did I see her first? Was she in like that movie?
The Slums of Beverly Hills in the late 90s.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then of course American Pie and the sequel to American Pie. That's what it was.
That's where she can really. But she did not fit in that movie at all. I'm like,
no, but it's funny because as you know that whole thing was written by a guy I went to high school with, and the characters are based on his classmates, some of whom I know. So the Natasha Lyonne character, I absolutely know who that was. Who is a real person that I knew in high school. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Yeah, I know.
Very weird.
Very weird. But anyway, yes, her name is Charlie Pace or Case. Her name is Charlie. I remember that much. And she is a human lie detector. No one can lie to her. Yes. But she is traveling the country. And it was funny. This was dropped in a 3-episode block. She is being chased by a mob boss who is played by Rhea Perlman, which is awesome. But
I haven't ran into her yet. I know there's the one casino owner that she kind of has pissed off.
But that brings it all the way. It's the same. It's the same plot line. Yeah, Rhea Perlman. But basically what she does, she's running around the country, getting into different situations. And this is a great show for having a great guest cast every episode. So one of the guest casts was a pairing of Giancarlo Esposito and Katie Holmes. And another one was the woman who I can't remember who played in Wicked, who was the singer, the African, black and English. She was the
Revo, Cynthia Revo.
Yeah, exactly. She was, but she played quadruplets, sisters, and there was it was very, very weird. So anyway, the 3 episodes are out there now. If you've not caught, there's a nice catch up at the beginning of episode 1, so you really can just jump in and be fun.
It's definitely one of those, mysteries of the week or whatever, murders of the week. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I will catch up. It's probably one of those shows. And I like the show. It's very great. She's a great guest. And it's, like I said, it's Columbo with a trucker hat. That's all it is.
And she's like, let me ask you one more question. And she does, she's very,
she lives out of a car, essentially, right? She's very...
she's driving around in a car. So, all right. And then to final it out, I have been curious for a long time. The last film that George Lucas made, and this was in 2012.
Not entirely true, Charlie. He made that Strange Magic animated film.
The last live action film that I can think of. in 2012, this was synonymous with the time that he was selling Lucasfilm to Disney, was called Red Tails. And it was an adaptation around the Tuskegee Airmen. And I was, playing roulette and playing streaming roulette and flipping through. And I thought, I've never seen that. I'm curious. And it took about 10 minutes for me to no longer be curious. Wow. So very, very bad. It was, think of all of the worst lines of dialogue from the prequels put into the mouths of people in a more contemporary setting. And it was like, and it just, in the first scene, you see, here's the Allied filled the skies bombers and flyer pilots, and then a group of shtukas, say, it's the Germans, let's go get them. I swear to God, that's what happened. And then you just see these guys it's like pod racing. It's just.
So this is Cuba Gooding Jr., right. Terrence Howard?
He was the colonel. Yeah, Cuba Gooding was, and Terrence Howard as well.
So, Anthony Hemingway directed this. John Ridley, Aaron Magruder, and John B. Holloway wrote this. So Lucas was the producer, but he didn't do anything with it. He just made this happen.
I just felt like it was him. Rick McCallum was involved as well, so that's a bad sign.
This might have been the last Lucasfilm produced.
I had it all wrong. I 100% thought this was Lucas's passion project, and he wrote it, and so I had it wrong.
No. Unfortunately, no. But
my point is that it was god awful. Oh my God. Do not even give it the 10 minutes that we did. Because, I looked at April and I said, this is pretty bad. She said, I said, I'm going to turn it off. She said, okay. And then we moved on to watch something else. Oh, my God.
I will not push back on you. I'm even looking. Yeah, Lucasfilm produced this. 20th Century Fox released it. Budget of $58 million, made $50 million. Yeah, a complete failure because you need to make 3x your budget.
Right.
So that is but he was his passion. He was the one that pushed for this.
Right.
Then he also produced Strange Magic, which I heard is just this historic thing. That's so it just made me always think of so wait, Lucas with a lot of time on his hands.
Well,
didn't make great things.
Yeah, because all he was doing at that point was tinkering with
counting the money.
I got to change something else in Star Wars, and then he sold. And
he was given Dave Filoni the reins to anything new,
right?
Because there was nothing else new.
Oh yeah, you're right.
You didn't get Star Wars detours, right?
Yeah. Oh
that didn't happen.
Yeah. The Underworld, that show that would have been, what did we talk about a few months ago? Would have been $60 million to make it, or $60 billion.
And he had I have 85,000 strips ready. I have 86 episodes in the can.
Yeah,
but they will cost $60 million each.
Oh my God! That was it. So
fortune.
Do that math. You wonder why they didn't make it. So anyway, Red Tail, skip it, and that's it for the Geek Easy. I've got my phone out. The time has come to get those tickets on Air Qantas to get down to Land Down Under. Hologram Tina and the mutants are awaiting us to talk about a guy named Bob, who we also know as Sentry. Let's do it.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, we're doing our due diligence to do our understanding of the character of the Sentry. He was introduced in the Thunderbolts. If you saw the movie, if you have not, you know what? Follow along, because we're going to talk about the actual comics and how it translates into the movies. And you can take this as a primer to the character of Sentry.
Yes.
And we'll talk about maybe the differences and what happened with this. But basically...
Put on a coat of primer.
Yep. So the Sentry... This is funny, because we always talk about this. The Sentry, when it was originally introduced in previews, things an unknown Marvel character that Stan Lee did and was hidden away, and now we found it in the archives.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So this came out in late in the year 2000. I was not I was not reading comics at that point. I remember there was a conversation you and I had on the phone about a year prior to that. It's funny, weird things that stick in your head, because you graduated
driving somewhere.
You graduated a year before I did, so you were you were in the Air Force, but you were stateside, and we were talking on the phone, and you were like, "So I heard you quit on comics, boo!" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I did," because I just up till that point I still had my titles that I read every month, but eventually I got to the point where I just kind I was newly married. I was moving on to doing other stuff. And so this would have
became an adult, Charlie. Your fancy died.
Let's not take it that far, because we both actively read comics now, and we've been doing this.
No, it was hard for me to get comics in Florida. I think there was one shop maybe I could actually access. So it was a situation of
What's funny in this day and age is that it's a non-issue, because we all read these digitally, and that's just about the only way that you and I read stuff these days, or that's how we read stuff together. But anyway,
should we introduce this comic series?
Yes.
September 1st, 2000, right around September 11th. Very weird.
No. It was the year before.
Sorry. Yeah. So I was still in Florida. Paul Jenkins, the writer.
My son was born that summer, so I was absolutely not reading comics, doing other stuff.
You're too busy. To go to the comic shops and say, hey, baby, look at the comics. Paul Jenkins was the writer. Jay Lee was the penciler. Jay Lee is one of my favorite pencilers, because I think he brings such a unique style, but it doesn't always work for everybody, but I love it. He was introduced with Namor, Charlie. I can't remember who the writer, but he did that Namor series that looks so deaf. But basically, the character of Sentry was basically this series. It's 5 issues plus a weird, what do we call it? It's almost like a special that wasn't included in the original.
It's weird. And if you look at it, I looked at the dates, because this came out in September. So, September, October, November, December. So it came out, and basically we're also talking about cover dates. So this really came out in the summer of 2000. So like right at the time I was talking about. So this ran like summer to fall. And then I believe the conclusion of it came out almost immediately afterwards, maybe within a month or two.
It says February 1st, 2001.
Okay. So
date.
So if the cover date of the last one was January, then it was. So why this wasn't just issue 6 of a 5-issue series, I'm sure there's a reason.
Money? Was it double size? Was it something unique?
No, I believe it. I believe it was. Well, we got it open. Feb 1. It doesn't give the size of it. I believe it was probably I feel like it was just a regular length. You know what I mean?
It's a hard one to tell, but basically, this is 6 issues long to determine basically tell the story of this guy named Bob, who is going through some major issues. He is a little bit delusional. He is claustrophobic, living in a house with a woman.
He's in a rut. He's in a rut with his, waking up, and he wakes up in the middle of thunderstorm in the first issue, and he's, pot-bellied, like midlife crisis kind of dude, but feeling like he's having these visions or these memories of stuff that just didn't happen, because he's just a guy who has a wife, and his wife is tired of his drinking, because he feels like through his visions he drank a serum and it gave him superpowers, but what he's really drinking in this scene when he's standing in his kitchen in the middle of the night is just alcohol, and his his wife
hooch brand hooch,
and he's having the visions where his dog, who's like a little dog like my dog, is a demon who's speaking to him, and he punches it or kicks it, and then his wife rounds the corner and says, "Why did you kick the dog? I can't deal it anymore.
You're drinking again.
You're not going to AA. You said you
wouldn't do this,
and then I'm going to go to my sister's house." And he's like, "Okay." It's like his life is trash. His life sucks.
And he keeps talking though that he feels like he's aware of something, and he gets these weird flashbacks, and we don't want to go, take this forever, but basically we get the feeling through all of this that Bob knows that there is something more to him, but he can't remember.
Can't put his finger on it.
And he says, people should remember me. I don't know how. We fast forward, then he shows up in New York in the ruins of Four Freedoms Tower.
That's what I was trying to figure out, because the Baxter Building was destroyed by Dr. Doom in an issue in the early 80s. The Four Freedoms Plaza was built on top of it. But I was trying to figure out, does that mean this story was set during that, like, what would be the 80s for us?
I don't know if you have to dig that deep, Charlie.
I just think you have to say
it.
Because they were building.
We don't know if this was. And we really don't know if this was like a what if or what this was, because once again, we were told that this is like the untold story of Sentry, but we find out that this is basically a new hero that's trying to introduce that has potentially some heritage with Marvel. He shows up. on this like crane at Four Freedoms Tower.
And he's wearing
reaches out to him.
Yeah, he's wearing a cape that's with
clothespins.
Yeah, clothespins keeping it on. So this guy looks like a nutter, but he's sitting on top of a crane, like he flew up there or climbed up there or something. And Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, shows up and he's like, I don't have any idea how you could have gotten in here. And he says, I feel like I know you. I feel like there's something between us. And Reed kind of gets rid of the guy and he goes back inside and the rest of the team are there.
He escapes out of the blue. And then Reed's like, what happened? Yeah. and he says unicorn to him. He says, remember the word unicorn.
Right.
He goes, what?
And when Reed goes back inside, Johnny and the Thing are sitting watching something on TV. They make a crack about Star Trek too. Boo. But he asks Sue. He's like, Sue. Oh, he says, remember the wedding. That's what Bob said.
Yeah, he says, remember the wedding in Corn. Yeah.
And so Reed goes back in. He says to Sue, Sue, do you remember a wedding we went to? He says, we go to a lot of weddings. And he says, and he looks over in the corner and there's a unicorn sitting on top of a VHS tape.
Yeah, like a tchotchke, a statue or something like that. Yeah, which then they're like, huh. Yeah. How did that show up? And then we find out that there's actually more to this. They find a videotape. Reed finds a videotape of a wedding. Yeah. That he puts a tape in, and then they show it, and it's basically Reed saying, "Don't remember this.
Yeah.
Burn this tape. Don't show it. You don't want to remember anything." And it explodes.
Right.
And Johnny's like, "Don't blame me.
I didn't do it.
I do flames. And I didn't do it, boy."
The story. And again, we're digging a little bit into the minutia here. But as things move forward, things start to take shape. And Stephen Strange shows up because Reed is racking his brain. Why is this going on? This guy says he was my best friend. I was his best friend.
Yep. And Bob keeps running into heroes. He runs into the Hulk. He runs into Spider-Man.
Right.
Runs into different characters and basically says, "Remember me." He runs into Professor Xavier.
Right.
Nobody does. And then we find out more about what's going on. And essentially what it comes down to is Bob was a great hero.
He's a real thing.
He was torn. He did take the serum, which made him into the Sentry.
Right.
But the Sentry was also a part of the Void. And so if you got the Sentry, you got the Void, which then created a huge issue where it ended up, apparently Sentry had a sidekick, which he got impaled and lost limbs.
Yeah.
He had a dog. And then there was a wedding that Reed was like, "You're my best friend in the world, and we're doing this," and we have all this.
Yeah, So Bob's not nuts. All that stuff did happen, but when they discovered that Bob can't exist without the Void, and the Void is ultimately destructive, destroy the world, the only way to make the Void go away was to cast a spell that makes the Sentry not only lose his own memories, but everyone in the world never remembers he's existed. And Peter Parker uncovers a bit of this, and this was tipped off from Sentry, by flipping through, by going to the Daily Bugle and looking at the microfiche and noticing that, there's issue 782 of this magazine, and then it jumps to 785. What's that all about? And even he's talking to Robbie Robertson, and he's like, "We don't talk about that." There's little markers within people that they know that it's it reminds me of
and Bob's feeding these things. Look for this, look for that,
look for the clues, look for the clues.
Yeah. And the thing with Bob is he doesn't really remember the full truth, but when it's revealed that essentially they have to create a lie about the Sentry, why he went away. And they basically said he was taking bribes. He was doing all these bad things.
Yeah, he had to trash him so people would. Yeah.
And he ended up dying. They had a fake funeral for him. Right. And there's no body. And Bob has essentially lost everything. He has a Sentry watchtower, which I thought was pretty cool.
Right.
There's this character, this intelligence that Bob has. And he has to work with.
Was it called Clock? CLOC? Yeah, the clock.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Reed creates kind of like a virus to keep Clock
from
it's a transmitter that says everybody will forget the Sentry
as long as
the Clock also stops anybody from stopping it.
Right. But then when that is, I'm trying to remember exactly, when that breaks down or it's compromised, that because of, and it's probably directly inverse to Bob trying to reestablish his identity. And that's when the Void starts to creep. And nobody really knows, and it's revealed in the 5th issue that Bob is the Void and the Void is Bob. And you see them physically fighting each other, which is what we end up seeing in the movie. And so ultimately, to wrap up the comic part of it before we move on and talk about comparing, Bob does manage to suppress the Void. Clock is reestablished. They beam things out. Everybody forgets about him again. And there was kind of a touching part with the sidekick, who again, the sidekick was mangled. He lost his left arm and he lost his eye, or something was all cut up. And he says, "Hey, yesterday I was flipping burgers and today I'm a superhero and let's do it." Fortunately, the sidekick survives, but the very touching last scene is Bob, and he's back with his wife. Now his wife did come from his Sentry past. It's because you saw that was obviously the wedding that we talked about.
That was part of the wedding that Reed was part of, and so I think they finally came to terms, and their relationship is better because I think there's a situation where everything that they were fighting through was mended, but they're still back to the point where she doesn't remember he's Sentry. He doesn't either.
And the rest of the world does. But at the very last part of it, in the sixth issue, or the one shot that ends it, is that Bob and wife are going to the same fast food joint where the sidekick is, and he's okay. He's back there flipping burgers, and he says, "Hey,
there's a wink and a nod.
A wink and a nod." He says, "I'll have a chili dog and things wrapped up." And then, so that really, it's funny. That explains why I don't know anything about the Sentry character. But I heard when I got back into reading comics, probably 5 or 6 years after this came out, maybe it was a little longer. I still didn't run into the Sentry, but I guess it kind of crept in a little bit here, a little bit there. And he's
been in part of events. That's the biggest thing. He's had with Sentry, he's had multiple iterations of series that didn't last very long. Yeah. And a lot of it has been about the world with the Sentry. The world has to forget about the Sentry so Bob can forget the Sentry, because that creates the Void. So essentially, anytime the Sentry gets involved, it gets brought back in, crap happens, so he has to go back. So it's like it's almost like the myth of Sisyphus, where the guy is pushing the boulder up the wall or the hill, it goes back down, he repeats the process. So Sentry, you get the good and you get the bad, and it always seems like it doesn't amount to anything. That's the hard part. It's like, is it worth bringing him in because it's going to go bad, and what does he do?
Because again, and there's a lot of headlines flying around like, could Sentry beat Superman? Like, that's the fight of the summer. And really, no, because Sentry can't function without having the Void, which is, where we're left at the end of the film. So let's talk about the movie version with Lewis Pullman as Bob Reynolds. So there is very little, and I'm sure you've seen the movie by now, but if you haven't, come back and see us next week. But go see the movie. Help it bump back up. It's my number 5 for the summer, so I wanted to keep that spot. So I need your help. But in the movie, as we talked about, Bob Reynolds is a early 20-something kid who's had a rough life. He had 2 very abusive parents. And to dull the pain of his everyday life, he's turned to drugs, and so he was down on his luck. So he kind of gets scooped up by Val.
Where did he go to Ukraine? Did he go to the Ukraine? I can't remember where he was. That's where he did the experiments.
I can't remember, but I mean, eventually he ends up he gets scooped up by Val and experimented on for this Sentry of creating an artificial superhero. He ends up in a box, which ends up in a basement in the desert, which is when he encounters our Thunderbolts heroes for the first time. But he doesn't have any memory. So in some ways it does ape the comic part of it, because he doesn't have any memory of who he is and what he's doing there until Val brings him home, so to speak, back to the Watchtower, which is the old Avengers Tower.
Yeah. And I wanted to something to go back to the comic just really quickly. I love the fact that the comic aped all the times that the Sentry would have been in part of the MCU or the Marvel comics, with the different eras, and different art styles.
They had a great 90s cover.
The Extreme X-Men, the face, and all the things. So I love that they did that through time.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Essentially, the actual the serum got to be an addiction, got to be a problem,
which is similar.
Oh my God! In this instance, where they gave our Bob in the movie. Apparently they gave him a serum that was kind of like the super soldier serum, but times 1,000.
Right. 1,000
which
suns.
Is not good for you.
No, exactly.
And they do make a note. Yeah, they do make a note of You got Steve Rogers who got it. It reflects him.
Right.
And then you get
and you think about
Johnny Walker
or the Red
who's
Skull,
flawed.
the Red Skull who was bad, and so it made him horrible. And then Johnny Walker who was
flawed.
He's flawed, and
flawed.
so his flaws came out in homicidal rage. So the same thing. Yes. Bob was so damaged emotionally on the inside that his damage amplified by 1,000 created an entirely separate entity that is an uber destructor, the same way that a Sentry would be an uber protector. And they can't exist without each other. So I'm curious, in the now 25 years since this character's been around.
Even after therapy, that's the one thing I'm curious about. Even if he gets therapy, though, I would feel like that is reducing the void, right? When you think that like he's actually managing his damage, he's getting therapy. Doc Samson comes in, Charlie. He says, "We're going to get through this. We're going to get through your drug issues. We're going to get through that. We're going to give you some strong support because you got a new family system." It feels like that work would help make the void be diminished or reduced.
You know, I don't know anyone in my adult life who doesn't need therapy, and most people I know who are healthy have gotten some kind of therapy. So I will tell you, because I've been through. I mean, I've been divorced twice, and I had a child die, so I've been through therapy. Things that are hurtful and malfunctional in you never really go away, but you do learn coping skills to deal with things. Coping
not
skills.
Only coping skills, you essentially oftentimes just say, "I'm done with that," and you let it go. And you let it go because you're like, what does it help me with dealing with that? And if I keep bringing it up, so it ultimately becomes like, if you say that therapy could help him deal with these things, deal with his relationship, because it gets to a point where it's like, those people that wronged you are not going to say I'm wrong. That's it.
And it won't make any difference because it's something in the past. And
exactly. Quite honestly, they don't care. They aren't going to say I'm well.
The most important thing that I've ever learned in therapy, and I've shared this with our friend John, who just recently went through a divorce. Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. That's the most important thing you will ever get out of therapy. Your life is your creation. No matter what brought you to whatever it is, you're responsible for your own happiness.
And if you expect those who did you wrong to finally come back and said, "Oh no," they won't. So it's like, if you let that go, you're like, okay, they can't hurt me anymore because it's gone.
You're absolutely right. So if Bob, and I know we're getting into some different territory here, which I like, but if Bob was to get serious about healing, there's a possibility that the Sentry could be a functional hero. And maybe that will be, and that was my question in the 25 years since this character's been around, has that ever happened? But then that character in the comics is not like this character that we see in the films.
Right?
Yeah.
The Hulk. Mark Ruffalo says, "I'm always angry."
Yeah.
He had to go to therapy, just like the Hulk in the comics, to balance out the Banner. And then we find out Bruce Banner has been abused and all these things. He had to deal with that. And then we see where he's at now with Bruce Banner. He doesn't have all the power because some of that rage has been reduced, but he can still show up, be effective. So I'm hoping we don't, like you said, I can't do without the void, because I'm like, well, then what's the point of getting healed if you still always have the void? It feels like you're going to diminish the void with that. So it is kind of interesting. Yeah.
So I agree. But just to go through this, people are asking, is Sentry's Marvel Superman? So here's a list of his abilities. He's class 100 strength, which is lifting over 100 tons. So that's like the Hulk or like Thor, or the strongest of Marvel's heroes. Invulnerability to most forms of injury, flight at supersonic speeds, energy projection, enhanced senses, molecular manipulation, potentially immortality, telepathy and telekinesis, and weather manipulation. So he's got a lot of stuff rolled in that other heroes have, but it's a lot of stuff that Superman doesn't do.
Nobody does have Superman does have laser beams. He has ice breath. He can do a lot of things. He's powered by the sun. I don't know how. And with Bob, we do know he has the super serum, and we do know in the comics he dealt with, like, he had to keep taking it.
Right.
So we don't know about that because he hasn't been around that long. He's been out of like experimentation.
Yeah, as I'm scrolling through this, it does say that Bob was part of the Civil War Comic Act, which was in 2007. So that is something I read. That was probably my first experience with the character, but I don't necessarily. And then he was also part of Siege of Asgard, a Dark Avengers loop. Dark Avengers, that was Norman Osborn's
killed
Avengers.
At one point. He killed other people, brought back. Yeah, I've noted in the comics why people don't really love like Sentry in the comics, because it feels like he shows up and then he scats.
Yeah,
he leaves. It's like, oh no, the void! I'm gonna leave. I'm like,
well,
what?
Every time he shows up, time he shows up, does somebody have to like unplug clocks? So people would be like, "Oh, you Sentry, thank God you're back," or are they like, "Who the hell is this guy?" Like. Yeah, that's
a problem. Yeah, he's a very inconsistent hero to be able to use.
Yeah.
That with great power becomes great.
Yeah.
Like inconsistency is the best way. Is the best way to say with Sentry. So
right.
I'm curious what they do with him, because it's kind of like Captain Marvel. That character is so inconsistent when they show up. They're so powerful, but they are used like, when is Carol Danvers showing up again? We don't know. Maybe she shows up when something important happens.
Well, I was going to say, after the failure of that last movie, I don't think the people in the MCU are worried about when she's going to show up again, because they're not going to give her the spotlight. I'm sorry, it's unfortunate. It's a meritocracy, and if a starring character has a movie that flops, that's not going to necessarily guarantee their
didn't work for the Inhumans, didn't work for the it didn't work for other characters, the Eternals. So we'll see where this goes with Bob, and now that we've got this, like, I would call it an uber powerful person,
right, with
the next stage of the MCU, what's going to happen with all these characters,
right?
I don't know when we're going to see Bob again. Yeah. We know we're getting Anthony Mackie's version of the Avengers showing up, but I guess it's happening off screen, which is very weird.
And it took over a year to happen. If you've watched, Anthony Mackie's not put together his Avengers with any kind of quickness. So yeah, it's a weird
So
situation.
Wait till that next movie shows up, when we're going to get a lot of characters showing up and saying, "Oh, I'm an Avenger now." I'm like, okay.
Or they'll all be the super Avengers, like they had at the end of Endgame. All right. Well, if you do want to dig into Sentry, everything that we've talked about is discoverable on Marvel Unlimited. And if you read Marvel Comics and don't have Marvel Unlimited, you are missing out. It is absolutely the place to find the vast majority of things that Marvel has published, particularly about their own characters. And if something's missing and it's one of their own IP, if you bug them, sometimes they will add it for you. I've done that several times. I've had them add issues of Fantastic Four, different Spider-Mans, so it can be done. Well, with that, that is the show. So go out and see Thunderbolts, watch Andor, go see Sinners. We've given you a lot of things to do in the next 7 days before we connect again. But Todd, people want to keep talking to you about the stuff that we visited. Where do they find you out there?
Oh, you can follow me on Threads Threads start there, at Theoxtra, at Secret Fringe Unite. And then if you want to follow me on Blue Sky, at Todd Oxtra, at Secret Fringe Unite there. Check out our YouTube, check out our Discord, check out our website.
All those things. And also don't forget, if you're someone who likes to go clickety-clack on the keyboard and you want to send us an email, secretfriendsunite@gmail.com. Todd shaking his head. We used to have the mailbag. It's always been there. But if you want to send us a note and have some thoughts on things we've talked about, send us a note, and provided that it's not profanity-laced, we can read it on the show, or we can self-edit it. I don't know. Or
DM us on socials.
Exactly correct. And you can find me out there on Threads and Blue Sky and Instagram as @the-C3, TheCeeThree. But I spend most of my socializing over at our Secret Friends Unite Discord. We're easy to find. If you don't find us, send us a DM. We'll get you an invite, but we'd love to have you on board and have you be a part of the conversation. But again, friends, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you, as always, that sharing is caring. To keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Leapfrog, leapfrog. You're the hero that we all need.
Frog.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.